Welcome to another episode of First Date with me as your host, Lauren Compton. Find out what it's like to date the person in the hot seat.
As long as they have good feet.
That's a red flag. My guest is Danny Brown, Tom Segura.
I'll split your ham for a night, but I'm not gonna...
Do you get jealous easily? How do you feel about open relationships? Do you have a sex playlist?
Just put on like some Bjork. That's a good one.
And she goes, I was offering myself to you. And I was like, what?
This week on Dr. Drew After Dark.
I used to see people snort coke and go, it's like reading a book backwards. Stop. You're wasting it. But
So it's not a tear.
a tear in a butthole is it?
It's a tear of sorts.
What the fuck is he doing?
I know. It's beyond.
Welcome to Dr. Drew After Dark. Please be advised that Dr. Drew After Dark may contain sexually oriented content and be unsuitable for young children. And welcome everybody to Dr. After Dark. Phone number 818-253-1693. The emails at draftterdark@gmail.com. Today, the one and only Rich Voss, everybody. Rich Voss. We have history, my friend.
Well, thank you for having me. Well, I think the first time I met you was at Sirius Radio. I don't know what show. I think we were doing either
Stern? The after show or something?
Jim and Sam. Oh, the after show.
Stern after show.
Yeah, it was the after show.
I'd forgotten that.
Yeah, we did that together.
That's right.
And then I did one of your live tapings.
We'll talk about that in a second. I want to tell everyone to go to one of 4 specials on Comedy Central. Also, what's going on right now? Go to the podcast. My Wife Hates Me. Of course, he does that with his wife, Bonnie McFarlane, right?
Yes.
And she does hate you, yes? I witnessed it a second ago. You called her, and she's like, stop buying all those rings. What?
Yeah, she just went out and bought a house.
What?
Yes. She's got all this, her career's doing really well.
Oh, good.
You know,
She's going to keep you in the manner you become accustomed.
Well, listen, I've been on the road for 100 years. Finally, I could take a little break, you know, and so she goes out, let's get this house. And, you know, moving's the most stressful thing in life.
Oh, my God.
It's more than, my first divorce was easier than moving and shanks on the golf course.
And you're less young now than when you had your divorce. And as you get older,
true.
It gets much harder to move around.
Just my garage alone is going to take me a week to move all that stuff.
Not only do you have a bunch of shit, a bunch of stuff, but when we were kids, we could literally stay on somebody's couch for a month, not even think about it.
You know what?
You'd move around.
It's so true. Like my daughter, my 16-year-old, or 15 going to be, her room looks like a cyclone. If I showed you it looks like, and my wife goes, your room must have been like, I go, I didn't have anything growing up.
Right.
I didn't have toys and, you know, my mom was divorced. We lived free. I shared a room with my brother. I didn't have anything to get dirty. Do you know what I mean?
My daughter's room looks like that too, and she's about a year and a half in the program. Like hasn't missed a day since day one, and been giving her a ton of crap. I've said, look, this does not look like a sober person's room.
Oh,
Let's run to the quick.
Yeah.
And then I said, I thought in the program you're supposed to have your outsides reflect your inside. Doesn't look like if that's going on the inside. I don't think this is a very good time for you.
I found an empty bottle of vodka in my daughter's room, and my daughter said, "Oh, it was my friend's." She said, "Get it out of the house." I go, "Well, 1, your friend doesn't have garbage cans. 2, I was a drug addict. There's nothing you could say to me that is believable."
Right.
Because I not only have I said it, I've made up some stuff.
Yes. My favorite drug addicts are the ones that will steal someone's wallet and then help them look for it. And I've seen that story a number of times.
Yeah, that's
literally what happens.
That's the story. That's the difference between an alcoholic and an addict. An alcoholic will steal your money. Well, whatever.
Yeah, they'll steal the money, and the addict will help you look for the wallet afterwards.
So there's nothing. My daughter's going to come home pregnant and go, "Oh, this is my friend's." She told me to carry it for her. She's 15. You know, I started when I was 15, but you know, I guess by the time I was 28, I went into rehab. So
what was your drug of choice?
Back then, well, I started off doing everything, and
of
then
course.
I worked my way up to
as is the custom,
up to freebase. You know, which. Crack, but freebase sounds more
romantic.
Yeah, romantic.
Back in the day, Richard Pryor freebased.
Yeah, crack. I mean, it was whatever.
Crack sounds a little.
I used to see people snort coke and go, "It's like reading a book backwards. Stop. You're wasting it." But you know,
turned it into freebase. See, that's how you do it.
I would imagine now if I was still, well, I wouldn't have lasted this long. But I couldn't have been a coke addict with all that fentanyl and I mean, I don't know.
You could have died really easily.
I don't know if you've, I don't know. I don't want to get, well, I know
It's
is
mixed
I'm
in.
lucky.
It's fentanyl's mixed in with everything right now.
Is it?
Yes, everything. And it can kill you easily.
Not with turkey burgers.
Probably not.
No.
Probably
Okay.
not, but soon enough, the way things are going.
Okay, so real quick, I have 37 years sober, 35 years off of red meat, 17 off of cigarettes. So I quit chicken and turkey 3 years ago. And I'll still eat. My wife's a vegan, which is a nightmare. But I went back on turkey like 2 weeks ago. And I made this decision, like with alcohol and drugs, I have a network of people. If I felt like it, which I could call. There's no one to call for turkey.
No.
There's no one like, hey, look, I'm thinking of going back to turkey, and I'll call stupid Bobby Kelly, and he'll go, yeah, we'll get some cranberry sauce, dummy. Or, you know what I mean? There's no one to call. So
There's no one to go, have you thought this all the way through?
Yeah, really. You know what this can lead to, chicken. But I did buy turkey burgers, and I could not wait to get to Texas so I could have real barbecue again. It's been 3 years, chicken or turkey.
Yeah.
But
what's wrong with beef?
Well,
It's a
for
better
me,
quality protein.
for me, one, it screws my stomach up. You know, Jews, we all have bad stomachs.
Yes.
Bad stomach. And I was, when I quit red meat, I was eating late at night after shows, chili dogs and
that's
just crap.
different. Oh.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying.
Okay. It leads to that.
Yeah, it's just, but there's nothing wrong with meat. If you do anything in moderation, everything's okay.
It's true. So we had a life together, you and I, not just at the Stern After Show, what do they call it? The After
Show.
Stern After Show, yeah. With Gary and John and those guys. But you did do a live version of this. Did you guys know we did a live version at Caroline's about 5 years ago? Remember you had to prep some videos for us and stuff?
Yeah, I remember that.
And I remember we showed the guy in the septic tank doing the shit diving. And that was the thing that put people over the top. I don't know if you remember, there were people angry with us for showing that video.
Wait, the tank was poop?
It was full of poop.
He fell into my career. This guy fell into my...
He actually put a leather outfit on and then fell into your career.
No, he fell into it. I kind of remember showing the video. They were mad in the audience at that.
I remember some audience members got pissed and sort of started giving me... It's a comedy show. It was like,
people aren't comfortable unless they're upset about something.
Well, those were the early days of that.
Yes,
It's certainly been a developed art since then.
Yeah.
And Kat Timpf was on with us. Do you remember that?
Yeah, she's a Fox News person.
She's a libertarian who sort of gives contrarian views at Fox.
Yeah, she was on, and I know I did maybe 15 minutes or 13 minutes stand-up set, which they were a great crowd.
Yes,
they were, but I don't fail.
And Caroline's is gone now.
Who is?
The Caroline's. They closed that studio.
Because of that show. Because of the guy falling in poop.
No, we had to do something.
No, they closed it.
It's so crazy to me that the Caroline's closed. The Broadway one, anyway.
That's the only one.
Oh, I thought there was one in Brooklyn or something, or downtown. No, okay.
No, the Cellar has so many rooms.
Yeah.
Now. But Caroline's, they raised the rent, and after the pandemic, Times Square is just no one goes to Times Square.
Yeah, you're right.
During the pandemic, it's just Times Square is, and I'm not saying I'm just saying Times Square is kind of gross now.
Yes, it is.
So I guess they were getting a lot of walk-up traffic from a lot of tourists, and through the pandemic, tourists weren't coming to New York.
Yep.
So people wouldn't walk by and say, "Oh, comedy club," and and a lot of these people that were going to that club just went because of the club. They didn't know the comic.
Yeah.
So when I work, and someone just there because of comedy, and they did no research, and they might get offended or whatever.
That's why they walked into yours?
Yeah. But you would never go to a music venue,
right,
sit in the front row and go, hope it's jazz.
Yeah.
You know what you're going, not with comedy. They just pop in and New York has all these barkers out there. Come in, we have this guy, that guy.
Yeah.
But not downtown, not the Stand or the Cellar or whatever.
The Stand, right. I'm actually going there next week to do the Legion of Skanks.
I just did. That's my management owns that club.
That's
the
a beautiful
Stand.
club.
It's great. It's really beautiful. Yeah, so you're going next. I know when they tape what night. Am I there next week? I don't know.
I'll look for you. I'll ask for you.
Yeah.
So what was your bottom with drugs? What happened?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it leads to it I guess I remember one night, my bottom was not learning how to talk. One night I must have smoked an eighth and I got to go, and I didn't know anything. I got to go to rehab, and I went up to some rehab. I think it was Fair Oaks back then in church. And I sat there, and I sat there for 2 hours, 3 hours, and I'm coming down. They go, "Do you have insurance?" I go, "No," and they go, "We can't." And by the time I left, I was not high anymore. So I probably out for another year, and just
Cocaine's a funny one. It doesn't have the same kind of dramatic bottoms that like opiates do.
Well,
where you're being resuscitated, on a ventilator for 3 weeks.
Well, also too. Well, here, and I'm not telling you anything about addiction you don't know. Well, anyhow, I put myself in rehab, and see, cocaine is, look, addiction, like you say, heroin, barbiturates, whatever. You're gonna detox for whatever. Mm-hmm. There's no physical detox.
There's no withdrawal.
Not from coke.
There's a adjustment of 6 months, but not withdrawal. Yeah.
Addiction, it's, and I can almost promise this: if you stay clean or sober long enough, the obsession and compulsion will be lifted, which is the addiction. Mm-hmm. That's just a symptom of who I am. Look, I mean, come on. Who has 5 rings, 70 pairs of sneakers? Somebody who's empty. Somebody who has the spiritual void of a rock. So my bottom was, I think the last run I spent all my money. I was in Boston and drove from Boston back to New York with some waitress just to cop, hotel. Then all my money's gone, and I'm going. I'm almost home, but I have to drive back to Boston.
Oh my God!
Do one night. My luggage is in a paper bag. And I'm going. What And I go. I can't. And I remember going to rehab. My mother driving the night before I went to rehab. I called this guy books room. I go, "Do you have a one nighter? I'm going to rehab tomorrow, and I need to go get high one last time." And I did a one nighter. I went up to Spanish Harlem, bought like 5 vials of crack, smoked them. My mother dropped me off, and I have not picked up since that day.
Good.
I have gambling to fall back on.
Oh, good. No. Excellent. Like many of the people here. Let's go to some calls, shall we? There's actually some calls about substances coming in here, so this I thought would be good for you. This is Brandon. What's going on, Brandon?
Hi, Dr. Drew. It's nice to talk to you. How you doing?
You as well. What's happening?
I got a question about my brother who is addicted to drugs, who will be getting out of jail here again shortly. I just kind of wanted your opinion, if that's okay.
We're all listening. And it's a good day to have these kinds of conversations.
So,
Rich Voss is here with us.
Yes. So, Rich, hello. How you doing?
Good. How's it going? You're in Canada?
I'm in Canada, that's right.
My wife's from Canada, Cold Lake, Alberta.
What was your first hint when you said a boot?
My
my brother's getting out of prison.
Good point.
I looked at the board here. It says Ontario. I thought Ontario, California.
He's getting out of prison.
So anyway, what do you need to know? What can we help you with?
So he's been on drugs for about 6 years, meth. And he's had 2 children with another drug addict. And he's 3 years older than I am, and he's in and out, and I'm taking care of his kids now who have, developmental problems because the mother was on drugs.
Oh boy.
And he'll be coming out here again shortly. And I just don't know if I need to change something or if he needs to change something or the family, what to do and what to kind of expect, because it's this pattern of stealing and using and leaving. And,
just a couple quick questions. How old is he?
He's 29.
And how long has he been in prison for?
This stint is about 8 months, but it's repetitive over like 5 years.
And do you know, was he using in prison? Or you don't know? Yes.
On and off. It's hard in the prison he's at, but,
All right. And so, Rich, I'll give you a first crack at this. I've got some ideas.
Here's, for me, There's nothing you can do for his addiction. You have to detach. Maybe go to Al-Anon or what's the other one for
Narconon.
Narconon, because
Naranon, I guess.
There's nothing. All you could do is not enable him.
Yeah. So Rich is absolutely correct. So in order to, yes, things need to change to answer your question, because unless somebody changes, the same pattern is going to repeat itself. His disease is untreated. Your codependency is untreated. Things will recur exactly as they always have. So the way I help people understand this, it's literally like, Brandon, you and whoever else is involved with him, your wife, or if there are other caretakers, need to no longer dance with him in his disease. You have to exit the dance floor. And the only way you can do that is with other people pulling you off and holding you off. Because the disease is an interpersonal disease. You will get sucked into it every time, and there's nothing you can do about it unless, even as a practitioner working this field for over 20 years, I always bring somebody in the room with me to hold me back, to pull me back if I start going in. The plant in the Little Shop of Horrors, the Audrey 2, perfect model for addiction. Remember the plant that eats people?
Yeah.
You go near the plant, it eats you. That's addiction. The only way the plant didn't eat people is if somebody pulled them back out of the plant. That's your Al-Anon sponsor. That's your Al-Anon community. That's it. And that will change things. It will change you in an active program of recovery from codependency will change the whole operation. And if you detach from him, if you decide that's how you're going to deal with him, you won't deal with it. You won't be dismissive. You won't be angry. You won't be resentful. You will just be realistically, out of love for him, you will just go back into your Al-Anon support group and not be involved. And he cannot be involved.
There was nobody that can make me want to stop but me. I mean, everybody is, there's at least 4 or 5 people affected by somebody's drug addiction or alcoholism. And that person has to make the decision to stop themselves.
It's scary. It's so scary, and they'll use your fear. Particularly the moms, the mothers. They have this fantasy that the child will die, which they do, and they will. But the child will then use that. Well, I'm going to kill myself then, or you're going to allow me to die, and I'm going to die. And the moms freak out and jump in codependently, and then we have the whole cycle started all over again. So whatever you do, it has to be highly structured. Highly structured. In other words, if he's going to visit his kids and that kind of thing. Yeah.
So I am kind of the leader. I live with my fiance, my mother, and now there's 2 small children who my mother takes care of, who she can't take care of, into her 70s when these kids are 18, 20. I kind of cut him off, my brother. I'm like, you're not my brother anymore. We were kind of hoping the kids would change his life around. That hasn't happened. He's stolen money from me. My fiance, who I was dating for one time of the year, $640, things go missing. And I just don't know if maybe I need counseling myself, as you said, for that codependency, or is it, I'm just hoping that, he's going to get better because he comes out of jail with weight on, and then, a month later he starts losing weight fast and I go, oh, he's back on drugs.
Brandon,
again.
if he isn't doing something active to manage his addiction, he will go back. So if you don't see him actively engaged in some kind of treatment or 12-step or mutual aid or something, he will go back. That's just the way this thing works.
Just, you know what? You got to do what's right for you and your family.
The answer is yes. Either get therapy or go to Al-Anon. That's it. That is yes. Because you can't fight it alone. I cannot stress this enough. On your own, the disease wins every time. You have to have somebody who understands this thing in your corner, like a boxer. If a boxer goes into a fight, you come back and talk to Burgess Meredith in the corner. And you need that, or you can't do it. You can't win the fight. Crazy, right? It's a cunning, baffling, extraordinary disease.
I'll tell you what I really got out of this call was I'm going to go play 640 on the pick 3 tonight.
Oh,
640 because I play 6:30 my birthday.
Maybe we should call Josh Potter this week too, because he's a winning gambler. So maybe you want to.
Oh, the guy from what did he win on?
What did he win? He tell us he had a Buffalo game or a Jets game or something crazy.
I'm on the Buffalo Bills.
Okay.
Yeah, people God, when in my active addiction, I was in New York running and out of money, and called my father, and I went to his house. I go, I need a, I used to paint back then, 2 houses or do it. I go, I need $20 for a gallon of paint.
Sure.
Do you think he didn't know what I needed $20 for?
He's wishing. He's wishing you're going to go buy the paint.
Yeah.
I get it. As a parent, you can understand that.
And I felt that's one of the things that really hurt that I did that. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
believe me, your dad was fine with it.
No, I wasn't though. To get to that point, like where I'm going. Oh,
wait, hold on a second, Raj. Hold on a second. You mean addicts? An addict got to the point where he stole from his family? I don't think that's ever happened before. Boy, I am shocked, my friend. That's amazing.
But I did it in a Bernie Madoff type of way.
I understand it was you. That's what's interesting here. But addicts do that. That's where it goes. That's where it goes. Stop buying those rings. You'll be fine.
Okay, Bonnie. Thank you.
So Anna, what's going on?
Hello. Thank you for taking my call, Dr. Drew.
Mm-hmm.
So over a year ago, I started dating this guy that I knew. He was a heavy drinker. He was a very ambitious, social, outgoing guy. He was a heavy drinker, but never an alcoholic. And then we started dating because I was not really a big drinker. He stopped drinking, but then he got heavily into doing Adderall, to the point that it got to a point that like he would do it every day. Mm-hmm. And then his behavior started to change. He lost a bunch of weight, and then he started like isolating himself to the point that everyone around him, not only me, his friends, but his family, really noticed those changes. And then after a couple of months, he started having like this paranoia psychosis, if you will. He was thinking that like everyone is out to get him.
Okay, all right. We don't need more Anna. Anna, hang on. So Anna, he's in a drug-induced psychosis. It is unusual to get that degree of psychotic from the amount of Adderall you're describing. So either he's doing a lot more, or he's adding other things in, like meth or weed or other things, even cocaine. Did you get paranoid?
I didn't know anything about Adderall. I don't even know what it is.
It's a dextroamphetamine.
I didn't get I guess you get paranoid while you're doing
With
it.
crack, you get paranoid about uniformed officials.
Yeah, but I remember they told me to pull over, and I kept driving, and he took his billy club and smashed my taillight. I drove right past him in New York. I was on a mission, and then when that mission was over, I was on another mission. So I don't know. Pot made me paranoid.
Right. So let's see what maybe is going on here. So in his delusions, when you try to talk to him, does he say repeatedly, "You're not listening to me"?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And
okay. All right. So
like
hang on.
He would blame it on me.
Anna, it's a drug-induced psychosis. It's a psychiatric, really, emergency. He might need to be hospitalized. You need to get him to a psychiatrist that can help him. It's probably a hypomanic psychosis. This symptom of paranoia can be from stimulants like Adderall, but that you're not listening to me, repeating that tends to be with weed-induced psychosis. Is he smoking a lot of weed? Is he doing dabs, anything like that?
Not at all. He does not like smoking weed at all.
Edibles?
Not at all.
Okay. Well, it may all be stimulant, and stimulants cause a paranoid psychosis, indistinguishable from schizophrenia. When they get wildly psychotic. And the unfortunate thing about the psychosis, like I told Rich when he was smoking crack, the psychosis is about uniformed officials. With amphetamines, the psychosis is directed at family, friends, neighbors, and coworkers, and with a prominent paranoia, the way you're describing.
So that's a side effect
of the meth, of any amphetamine, stimulants, other than cocaine, which causes the uniformed official preoccupation. So he needs help, my friend. This is addiction, full blown, and it is now a psychiatric problem on top of that. Okay?
Yes, thank you. And just like how you said, like some days he would blame it on me, and then the next day he was very depressed and down, asking me for help, and this cycle would keep repeating itself.
He's probably using when he's on the days when he's up. So he's getting this sort of accelerated hypomanic psychosis, and then he gets a depression on the other side.
Yeah, so every action has an equal.
Yeah, so you've got to get him to a psychiatrist. And if there's somebody prescribing the Adderall, call that doctor and tell him or her that he is psychotic, and that doctor is responsible for taking care of him because the Adderall is figuring into this. Okay? All right.
Thank you
it's
so
very
much.
hard. It's
Yeah,
very hard. He's going to need treatment for the addiction after the psychiatric problem is stabilized.
I've been on, like, I have had anxiety. When I was 21, I was hospitalized for anxiety, and they didn't know what anxiety.
Interesting.
They didn't know what it was back then. They just gave you Thorazine and Haldol, and you do the Thorazine shuffle. I mean, this is
That was more than anxiety, dude.
Well, no, that's what I had. They didn't. 40-something years ago, they weren't really
40 years ago. I started working in a psychiatric hospital in 1985.
So
and they did not use that for anxiety back
well,
then.
that's what I had, generalized anxiety.
Huh.
But it went to another level where I was detached, feeling detached, just panic.
You were having panic and dissociation.
So I've had
stuff.
anxiety throughout my life on and off, and I've had medication. And they say, take this, I take half.
Good.
I do it barely through the pandemic, maybe with comedy a little, but I've very rarely taken went down to 5 milligrams, so I take half of that if I have to. So, as an addict, if I was prescribed 1 and took 4, then there's a problem. If I was prescribed 1 and started melting it down and shooting it, there'd be you know what I mean?
A bigger problem.
So there's different in addiction and recovery. We're not doctors, you know that. So you put a lot of trust into doctors.
Well, doctors screw up my patients all the time.
Do that
all the time. And they do not, I'd say 98% of doctors do not understand addiction. They do not get it. Just this guy. He's clearly an alcoholic. Give that guy Adderall? Are you effing kidding me? And maybe he had a stimulant history too. Who knows?
The doctor gave him the Adderall?
It sounds like it happens all the time, my friend. Giving opiates to drug addicts. All my patients were being killed by my peers routinely back in the opioid overprescribing days. Routinely killed hundreds of my patients.
Wow.
Terrible. Jeff Conway, they killed him. It's just awful. It's just disgusting what happened back in those days. And finally we stopped. So here we are. All right, let's see here. All right, we're going to have a different kind of topic, okay? Switch gears, yeah?
Oh, okay.
All right, not addiction so much here. We're going to go more your mom's housey kind of stuff. Oh. This is Will. What's going on, Will?
Hey, Dr. June.
Yeah, buddy, what's happening?
Make this quick. Sorry about that. So, girlfriend, Anna, she's having an issue where she's had a tear. The previous injury where she had a tear in her butthole. And unfortunately, over the years, it'll just reopen, I would say.
Yeah.
That happens. And I can't seem to get her to where, like right now it's been happening and it's just not going away as far as pain. Like she takes suppositories, etc. But she doesn't want to go back to the doctor for it. Like she's been treated for it when the injury happened years ago. And I don't know what else can there be that, because she didn't want to do a colonoscopy again.
All right, hold on.
She's not trying to get that all messed up. And
Will, what was the original injury?
Yeah.
So-called. What was the injury?
It's just a tear in her butthole. I don't know how
I get
it
that,
happened,
but you said it was
okay.
Tear. So it's not a tear.
A tear in a butthole is it?
It's a tear of sorts.
She has a butthole.
And it's not a tear. It's a something's happening there and recurs. And what kinds of things like that? A tear is when something gets in there and tears it. There's a trauma.
Probably
but
hemorrhoid.
This is not a tear. Could be hemorrhoid, but it's more likely to be a fissure or a fistula. And those things need to be treated. And the fistulas particularly are actually important because they can start to proliferate, move around and stuff, and be associated with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. So it is extremely important that a doctor take a look at this.
I'm going to leave here with more anxiety than I walked in.
Good.
I have all these things now in my head.
I aim to help. So it is not a tear. It's probably a fissure, to be fair. I mean, you can use some cortisone cream on it, that kind of thing. If it goes away with that increases the probability of that. But my fear is that it's a fistula. And that is a much, much more significant thing. And doctors do need to evaluate that. Again, if it's a fistula, she'll need to work up for Crohn's because that's a common sort of feature or complication of Crohn's disease. Oh, this is interesting. Let's talk to Adam here. Hi, Adam. What's going on?
Hey, Dr. James. How you doing?
Oh, James, what's happening?
I have a goofy question. Not really, but so I'm 35 years old. I had a heart transplant 18 years ago.
Wow.
When I was 17. I'm doing really well.
Clearly.
And nobody can really answer this question. What's the over-under on making it, you think, another 18? I don't really know what the world record is for heart transplant survivor, but I'd like to be the one.
Live in the moment you have today.
Yeah, it's common to so you've lived with it for essentially 20 years, right?
Correct.
Yeah, decades are common for people to live decades with a heart transplant, especially when they do well, they typically continue to do well, right? I mean, that's the person that's going to live the decades.
Mm-hmm.
How many decades? And then what do you do if this starts to fail? I don't know. But I do know that 20-ish years is sort of a median, but that means there's a lot of people on both sides, right? And you're clearly one of the good cases.
Yeah.
Clearly.
I mean, I get a new car like every year. So 20 years, are you kidding me? I don't know if it's a good comparison.
How often do you see the cardiologist and the transplant people?
Now I'm on an annual basis.
Yeah, and what do they tell you?
They tell me keep doing what I'm doing. Honestly, I've made a lot of changes in the past 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Stopped drinking.
Good.
Exercising more. I'm not fat, but I'm definitely a 4. I don't know if that helps at all.
What are you taking for the transplant? For what medication?
I'm on relatively low amount of medications: tacrolimus, sirolimus, and one for blood pressure and cholesterol. That's it.
Yeah, boy, you could keep taking that for a long time. And if you're having no rejection, I don't know. Yeah. Do they do echocardiograms every year?
Yeah.
Do you know what
over 55% EF?
Okay, so his ejection fraction is 55%. Normal is 55 to 60. So he has a normal. That's the amount of blood pushed forward with each pump of the heart. Hey, man, I wouldn't be surprised if you go another 20.
Yeah, and look at it this way.
And then who knows what kind of advancements we'll have by then.
And at least, listen, I know people have cracks in their ass. So on the bright hand, you know what I mean?
You missed that last call, Adam. But yeah, let's look as positive as possible. I mean, things can deteriorate all of a sudden for no good reason, but not likely. Not likely. Okay?
Cool. Yeah,
right,
sounds good. I was just looking for somebody to give me some silver lining.
I would. I think
always like, well, we don't want to tell you anything.
No,
but.
I know. I get that they don't because they can't really. Yeah. But we're just gonna bet on you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
All right, Adam from Nashville. Well done, my friend.
That's amazing. Cool. A heart transplant.
20 years with it.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. Like what they can do is like just. I mean, I had implants in my teeth, and I was nervous.
Amazed.
Amazed at that. Yeah. And just 20 years living.
Are you all implants or
just top and bottom?
That because of the substance use? Or your meticulous gum care?
No, it's I just abused, growing up. Cavities and root canals and
just never.
I mean, I guess drugs didn't help.
As a friend of mine said, people that are into drugs aren't into their teeth, aren't into dentists.
Yes, yeah, that's not like, I was not going on a lot of dates. But it's just amazing, a new heart.
We're gonna watch some videos, but first I'm gonna do a couple of emails. Hi, Mommy. I had a theory for a long time, but not sure if there's any truth behind it. Does our shit stink because of some kind of evolutionary programming to not eat it? We've got thinking audience out there. They're thinking about things all the time. It's waste, but at this point, shouldn't it seem like normal smell because it's natural and not always so repulsive? I'm thinking early on when the first humans were dum-dums but needed to eat, they at least instinctively knew not to eat shit because it smelled terrible. Thanks for your insight. Like dogs eat shit, I mean, there are other mammals that eat shit. Humans tend not to. And to this person's point, when I first read this email, I thought, "Oh, come on." I mean, it just is what it is. And but disgust, okay, human disgust is an evolutionary emotion, and it has evolved to make us move away from things that are infectious, typically. And one of the leading causes of infectious diseases in the world, and probably through history, is what's called oral fecal transmission of infectious disease. So it's worms and it's amoeba and it's bacteria. And so this person, Sam, has a point. There probably is something to that. We probably evolved to be extra disgusted by our own shit and its smell to make sure we don't go near it or get infected.
Eating your shit.
There you go.
All I know is every time I do my podcast with my wife, I eat shit every time. But
isn't that what your podcast is about?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
okay.
just my stupidity and her brains.
That's so funny. Here's another. This is a piss shake phenomenon. This is Matt. I've always wondered why women do not get to experience the full body shake that sometimes accompanies a particular wonderful piss. During my college days, I did a poll, and most women I came in contact with did not have any knowledge of the piss shake phenomenon. Now, he's not talking about shaking off his penis. He's talking about the chill that people get at the end of urination sometimes. Hopefully you can enlighten listeners why this happens to men and why women are left out of the fun. It is a little more of a deal for men to evacuate their bladder. There's longer for things to go. You know, the outside world is closer to the women's bladder. Number one. And
look how many people you can meet in the bathroom, in the rest area.
Oh, I've peed next to some famous people.
I bring my own drill.
But I think I've always thought that you always talk about where some people get this kind of weird chill feeling. There's something called post-micturition syncope, where people faint after they've peed, and this is mostly men, and it's because they pee standing up. And so I'm gonna say that chill phenomenon is probably something to do with us having a bit of a job to push stuff out, and we're standing up. So we might be getting like an autonomic response when we're in that state. That's what that is.
How come after you have sex, you pee after you ejaculate? Like within 10 or 15 minutes, you go to the bathroom.
Because
is there a medical reason?
You're irritated. The urethra gets a little irritated. It gives you a sense of urge.
Really?
And the semen causes irritation in the urethra too.
That's funny. So then during sex, like we're both irritated. Hers is mental, mine
she's
physical.
a little more irritated than you, but yes, you get urethral irritation. She has her soul is irritated. Speaking of eating shit, I guess we have some shit stories coming. I didn't expect this, but you've got some videos for us?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what you got.
I know everyone has their panties in a bunch right now about how I've licked my own excrement before, but I will say I do not do that anymore. I have learned, and if I do it, I make sure it's clean, usually. But I also don't do it with other people, so then I can't catch strep from them, and that's why I haven't gotten strep in over a year. Claps. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there videos of her licking shit out there? Is that what that is?
I'm sure there is.
And why does she do it?
She's a porn star.
Oh. Okay. Well, there you go. That about sums it up.
Wow. Just when you thought you were your family's disappointment, you bring it to another level.
Yeah. I mean, degradation knows no bounds.
I've gotten strep 5 times.
Is this her?
From licking my own poop off of people. I'm telling you, I have no boundaries.
I was about to say, like, you wouldn't do that. you were wrong. Is that on OnlyFans? I mean, I don't want to see like it's just like marketing.
Yeah. No, it used to be, but it's not even allowed on there. Anything like messy isn't allowed on there. That stuff's off camera.
Oh.
Well, and yet your mom's house seems to find it.
And yet
we sure do.
Yes.
And yet now she's headlining all over the country.
Yeah, right. I know. Are we depraved or what? And so when you guys find that stuff for the live shows, is that stuff people send in? Do you track down women like that and see what they've got?
The heavy segment is usually
the heavy segment,
like me and Zolo just pulling ourselves by our bootstraps and going into the trenches.
Yeah,
and
Zolo's ruined forever. He's just ruined. He's
fine. I don't know why you're so worried about him, Drew.
I'm not. It's over.
He was ruined before we even made him do that stuff.
Whether he was or he wasn't, he is now.
He's got to go out and find these people?
He's got to find these videos. The Your Mom's House live shows has heavy segments, which are stuff like this, really heavy. My wife and I were watching it driving down. We were driving in Southern California, and we thought, oh, the live show's on. We got to watch. And we paid our $10, and like, oh, there's Tom and Christina. It was with Rogan. It was that one, and all of a sudden they started showing some rough, what do you call them? Tough, hard, heavy videos.
Yeah, heavy vids.
And my wife started getting so uncomfortable. She said, "Oh, my tits hurt. This is so uncomfortable."
I keep hearing this name Rogan. Who is this?
Yeah, it's a guy. You may, I don't know. He does a podcast. You may have heard of him.
I can't watch that stuff. Like, I was never even big on porn. There's videos. It's just.
Well, we cannot have your kind here. You'll have to leave.
Oh,
no,
I don't know. It's just.
I don't know if the boys can tolerate
Rich.
this.
Yeah, let me pull some stuff up for you.
Oh, Jesus! Are you going to show some? He doesn't like this stuff.
No,
I
don't.
I know.
I like to
show the people at home, but we'll show
listen, I've been in studio, where you see some of the weirdest stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, look.
Here, Rich, describe what you're seeing.
We don't see anything yet. Oh, look at that. Uh-oh. Please, take it off. Take it off. I don't want him to throw up on me.
Oh, my God.
Well, I will tell you what he's looking at. You want to take your headphone off? Or but no,
wait. Is that...
That's a wound.
Yeah, and
those are maggots eating the wound. And by the way, sometimes we will put maggots in wounds like that to debride them, so-called. But this one looks like it's so deep, it's going into the bone for sure.
But is that the foot? That's
a foot. Those are the big toes over on the right, little toes on the left. That is a diabetic foot, I'm going to bet. And that person probably doesn't even feel that.
Oh, that's... Yeah. Oh.
Here, we got more stuff for you.
No, Rich.
Oh, dude, I don't want Rich to vomit. Oh, look at this.
What the fuck? I didn't
Describe what you're seeing. Describe what you're seeing, Rich.
What the fuck is wrong? Oh, Jesus. Oh, is that Tom? No. Oh, God. Why would they? What the fuck is he doing?
I know. It's beyond. I know you haven't been around us long enough to understand what goes on up there in the world.
Let me change it up for you.
You're going to turn it up?
You can't be fucking for real. I
don't
mean
to... Jesus Christ. That's anal prolapse. Oh, that is so dangerous. I just see surgery when I see that stuff. To me, that's just surgery.
That's my bit about the eel. The guy that put
an eel up there?
And he had to go to the hospital, have it removed.
Yeah.
And I go, if that was me, this is an old bit. I go, if that was me, I'd have to break my wrist first. And when I got to the hospital, I go, look, while I'm here, can you check to see if there's a live eel in my ass? I mean, how do you do that without tying a string to the end of it as a safety net? It's like, I was listening, I think, to Stern, and they went to this fisting
like you just saw
festival.
Yeah. Oh, Wolfie went to the fisting festival.
Yeah. And all the way up to people, like, how does that not kill you?
You just saw it. I don't know, frankly. The tissue is very flexible, resilient, but you could easily puncture a colon that way.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. And then the prolapse, when it comes out, it can twist and cut off its own blood supply, and then you have a medical emergency on your hand. Yeah, it's good times. I mean, whatever you're into.
No, that's at a whole nother level of, look, okay, I get a finger or a pencil during a birthday or an anniversary. I get that. But, oh, thank you. It must be my birthday. Happy birthday to me. But a fist, it's just...
It's too much.
You're missing... There's something inside that you're filling an empty hole.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That's outside your body, right?
It's right outside the body.
So cave divers, that's been sitting there for a minute. Let's see what that is. It's not going to make us throw up again, is it? My stomach is really...
I had tears in my eye.
Oh, no.
So this Christina found...
Oh, I could never do that.
I could not do this either.
Describe what you guys are seeing.
I can't even watch. This guy's sliding through a very tiny space.
Is he nuts?
Oh, my God. You can't breathe when you're like that. I can't even watch it. That's as hard...
Now
Drew, we can switch to back to the other stuff if you want.
What's that?
We can switch back to the heavy stuff if you want.
No, this is as heavy as anything.
He's sliding
it's all about
through...
claustrophobic.
Yeah, I'm a little claustrophobic. Who's making it?
He's so I'm coming up out of this.
Through a little tiny crack.
If I get stuck, I have this rock with me, such that I can pop off some of these knuckles, which made it very hard to get into. And now I have to go slow.
I can't. I don't know if I can watch
That's
this.
Can we go back to the fisting?
I know. I'd almost rather see that.
A lot of people ask why we do this. And
Why?
you're just never going to get a sufficient answer. Why do you wake up in the morning?
Not to
what
do that.
drives you? What makes you want to get up and go study a subject or go to work or go out, hang out with your friends? It's really nothing, right? This is life. And that's all. This is our way of living. It is not our way of dying.
Yeah, but it looks like it's going to be, whether it is or it isn't.
So
that is. I have all kinds of phobias about that. Thank you for bringing that to my attention.
You're welcome.
Well, even when I watch MMA once and they're all curled up, I have to take deep breaths.
Yeah.
And obviously, when I was a kid, remember when they did pylons?
Yes.
If I was on the bottom, I'd have panic.
Yes.
And they say, it's fear of being buried alive, claustrophobia.
Yeah. It's reasonable.
that is.
Yeah, I'm short of breath just sitting here.
When I watch MMA, I start getting.
I don't like it.
No.
Yeah, everybody's got their thing. I just realized that's mine.
It's
good to know. I'm making a note of it.
That means I'm going to get a dose of that every fucking week.
Have you seen the mountain climbers without the ropes? And they just
I don't like that either.
Yeah,
that's not as bad as this.
Yeah, that
to
one's
me, To me,
worse.
the mountain climbing thing, I'm just like, well, not going to do that. It's like,
And
good luck.
They're sleeping on the side of the
This,
mountain.
I feel like I'm seeing somebody die.
Well, yeah, anything could go wrong, and how are they going to come get them? Anything.
Rich, don't rub it in. Can't do anymore. All right.
Oh,
cave
Jesus.
divers. Is that the bottom of that page? Or is there something underneath cave divers? TikTok, probably. Let's do a couple TikToks.
Yeah, we could do a couple of TikToks.
I need some cool guys to cleanse my palate.
Yeah, here's our favorite cool guy.
Okay. Oh, here he is.
Oh, boy. Beautiful Saturday. Kind of a cool breeze, but it's getting hot. But I'm barbecuing goat anyway.
Goat? Uh-oh.
Just sitting back here by the fire, watching it cook and get beautiful.
Well, that's kind of nice. A year ago.
That guy's 27.
Y'all have a really wonderful Saturday. Please.
All right, a little creepy.
That's why. That's one of your answers why I don't eat red meat.
Because
it leads to goat.
This guy.
Yeah.
So is there another from him? I know you're leading me down some kind of path with this guy.
I'm not leading you towards anything. This is just what we have of him.
Okay.
Yeah.
It seems to get creepier with time.
I do have some other things that you asked for previously.
Oh, get those medical calls too. Oh, this guy. Look at this guy.
Oh,
super fast martial arts guy.
He shows himself eating pizza fast. He's into just flicking his wrists around, essentially. What would make somebody put that on a TikTok or on any kind of video even?
It's what's wrong with the internet.
Yeah.
It gives people a platform that shouldn't have a platform.
Yes. Okay, fair enough. He shouldn't have. He's welcome to go doing this. We shouldn't be aware of it. We shouldn't see it. Got another one? Oh, here he is. There's him again. So his claim to fame is just being a lot of quick moves.
Well, looking at him, he doesn't have to fight girls off, I'll tell you that.
No.
And those aren't good kicks. Those are bad kicks.
They're not real kicks, right?
It's just
movement.
The front kick's okay.
What does he think he's doing? Do you have any idea?
He's kicking ass.
He's kicking some ass. Don't get near him.
Taking names.
Look at.
His hands are registered.
Whoa. So fast.
His hands are registered. I'm sure he is too, as an offender.
Kind of looks like it.
I'm killing in the control room.
I'd seen enough of that guy now. I'm just done with him.
How about?
I did need to see. Oh, dog's eating a snake. Dachshund's eating a snake. The dachshunds can't get enough of that snake.
Who has it?
You don't like dachshunds?
I mean, we have a Yorkie. I like Shepherds.
Me too. We have Australian Shepherd.
I love Shepherds. But, we have a Yorkie and a cat. I like the cat. And the Yorkie's my wife's, but Shepherds are the dogs.
I'm going to take some more calls here. Just a couple more calls. I've had enough of people. Yeah, I thought cool guys are going to make me better.
Surprise.
Let me see. David, what's going on?
Hey, Dr. Drew, how you doing, man?
Good. What are you doing?
Delivering mail.
Nice. What's up?
So I've been a mailman for like almost 5 years. I want to like keep doing this as a career, like till I'm 60, like some of these other guys in my office.
Okay.
I'm like holding my piss a lot. You know what I mean? Like a lot. So is there health concerns I should be aware of when I'm 50, 60 years old if I'm still doing that?
I mean, it's not the best for your prostate. It irritates the prostate. You can get sort of atonic bladder or even spastic bladder, so you can get problems with the bladder musculature, make it difficult or alter the way you can empty your bladder as you get older. But it's not of itself, I mean, how many hours are we talking here?
Oh, that I'm holding it?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe like an hour, hour and a half.
That's a nothing.
That's nothing. I went 3 days.
No, that's a nothing. So you might have a urologist look at your prostate to make sure it's okay because it sounds like you might be having some symptoms. But no, I mean, you could do a lot longer than that and still be fine.
For like 40 years, though, I'm talking?
Dude, you hold your urine overnight every night. Every night you go 8 hours without peeing, right?
Not me.
Well,
yeah, but I'm not laying...
But
I get it. I'm not laying down having to piss my pants, though, you know what I mean?
Look, I don't want to burst your bubble, but in 20 years, it won't be mail anymore anyhow, so don't worry
how
about
dare you. How dare you. But you're walking and standing, and that puts more pressure on the prostate primarily. And so, yeah, I mean, you need to get a proper urological checkup to make sure you don't have any urological issues. But obviously, people deliver the mail and people are on their feet working for long hours without urinating and do just fine. I mean, you're sort of designed for that.
Yeah.
So, all right. I feel like there's one more story up there that I've not seen, the subway story. What is that all about?
Right. Yeah, this is a great one.
Oh, boy.
I thought I would take this time to tell you guys what happened in the subway bathroom the other day. I wasn't going to tell you guys, but fuck it. Why the hell not? I've told you guys everything else, right?
Right.
So I walked in the subway and I told the guy, I'm going to buy a sandwich after I use the bathroom, which I was. But I was in such a hurry to get to the toilet that by the time I pulled down my pants, before I even sat on the toilet, I was already pooping. It was all over the toilet seat, all over the porcelain part of the toilet. And when I stood up to get dressed, I had poop all over my jacket. It was incredibly disgusting. And I had to use toilet paper, a whole roll of toilet paper, to clean up the whole mess. Jeez Louise.
Jeez Louise.
Things that happen when your body gets old.
You start to look like a jack-o'-lantern. That's one. I'm going to put a candle in her mouth. And
she is coolest of cool, man. But I wonder what Annie thinks when he hears of somebody losing control like this. As you get older, you lose your tonicity. You're not so toned, right? And so some of the gaskets are looser. She can't control it. She can't be like you. She doesn't have the muscular ability to do it any longer.
Oh, I mean, her first problem is Subway.
Yeah, going to Subway. That's an interesting problem.
I mean, homie, she can't figure out how to resize text to fit the fucking screen. I don't think she's going to figure out.
It's pretty bad. She is the coolest of cool, though. I mean, I like really cool ladies and guys.
I had poop all over my jacket.
She reminds you a little bit of Slow Wendy. Or what is Wendy called now?
Oh,
Challenge,
yeah.
What should they call her now?
I don't know what they call it, but it's kind of sad.
It's kind of sad, yeah.
But actually not. My wife's sister has Down syndrome. And, I mean, she's getting old. But she probably has the greatest life. She doesn't, everybody goes, oh, but she has no worries.
Right.
I mean, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not
and oftentimes the affect is very bright and they have very cheerful and they have good interpersonal relationships.
Yeah, she loves Elvis.
Is that her thing?
Yeah. We took her to Graceland one year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then we had some video medical questions, right? Didn't we have something like that going on there?
Yeah.
Give me at least one of those. Let me see
I'll
if I
give you
can
one.
struggle with it a little bit. These are questions. Here we are that we put up on Instagram that I answered rather quickly, but I thought I'd bring some of them back around on the show to kind of maybe elaborate a little further. And I bet Rich can even help with this one.
Life pro tip: if you take an electric toothbrush and hold it up against your head, you can simulate a lobotomy.
That is a pro tip that could not be further from the truth. It's total bullshit. So you have something vibrating on the front of your skull and you think that is anything like a lobotomy? Lobotomy is where you take an ice pick and you hammer it up above the eye into the brain cavity and then sweep it back and forth inside the skull, not against the skull, up in the brain. That was lobotomy. And as it pertains to lobotomy, when people talk about the standard of care in medicine, we have to follow the standard of care. In my career, I've seen 3 different standard of care has been wrong, not just wrong, deadly wrong. And lobotomies or so-called psychosurgeries were one of these standards of care that was insane. The guy that invented lobotomy won the Nobel Prize for medicine.
But why would they give that to somebody to? I mean, they're
Lobotomy?
done after it. They're done, right?
No. They like Rosemary Kennedy had it. John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy's sister had it because she was probably had a borderline personality disorder, probably some drug addiction, and the people were difficult and they wanted to make them better, and so they'd disconnect their frontal lobes and they would be docile. And they would stop having sometimes psychotic symptoms, things like that. And I took care of a ton of these people in the 80s and some in the 90s because at the psychiatric hospital where I worked, all the psychosurgery patients were still left over in their 70s and 80s. Disastrous. All go to nursing homes. They get something called gliosis, where scar starts to build in the brain. It's just a mess.
Wet brains.
No, it's way worse than that. It's way weirder too. It's like they can't think right, and they can't regulate their feelings, and they can't interact socially normally. You ever heard the story of Phileas Gage? This guy that was tamping down an explosive, and the bar went right through his head and his eye, and he survived.
No,
and he seemed normal right afterwards. He had a frontal lobotomy. And but then he slowly deteriorated over his lifespan. Well, that's what happens to these people. So, hey, good times. Standard of care, buddy. Standard of care. Give me one more. There he is. There's Phileas Gage. And
Look at that.
And he's holding. There's the tube there. That's what happened. He's holding the thing that went through his head. And
my God.
He at the time of the accident was a high level. There's the skull where it went through in the skull. High-level managerial position where he was like managing large, groups of essentially, he was dynamiting through hills. He was an engineer. He ended up becoming like a stagecoach operator and a sociopath, and was stealing and couldn't control his language and was cussing and was sexually inappropriate with everybody because he didn't have frontal lobe function.
Yeah. Well, I think whenever a tube goes through your skull,
something's going to happen.
A lot of people I know end up driving a stagecoach after
some of them end up podcasting, I think.
Yes.
Isn't that where it normally goes? One more medical question, and then we'll kind of wrap things up.
Can all the doctors of TikTok please explain to me what's happening to my eyeball right now? Just wait. Can you see this?
Oh. Yeah. So,
what is happening to me?
I can't see it.
So one pupil's a lot bigger than the other. Just to show a picture of it there. So that's one's big, and that one's not so big.
Oh, yeah.
So it's called anisocoria, and that is actually typically caused by a virus. It's called an Addis pupil, ADDIE'. And if it's more than a millimeter difference, it's significant. I mean, there are other more drastic things that can cause that. There's aneurysms and tumors and things can do it as well. But that's usually associated with other neurological findings or symptoms. There's just pupillary responses like that is usually virus, Addis pupil. How about that?
You nailed it, Drew.
I have
Fucking impressive, man. Just
Look up
in your
Addis
pocket,
pupil.
you had
Look
that.
up ADDIE'.
Jesus.
Knowing the knowledge you have and all this medical, how do you not have anxiety thinking about all this stuff?
You're exactly right. You go. Oh, it's 1D. I thought it was 2Ds. You go through a period in your training where you feel that. See, these are the pupillary differences. Shouldn't that look like her? There's an Addis pupil. And you start thinking you have everything.
Yeah.
Then you start worrying you're going to get everything. And then you become so grateful when you realize how much shit there is to get. You just become grateful that you can get from one day to the next.
Yeah.
The fact that we don't get these things is the miracle, and you begin to appreciate that.
Well, years ago, a comic died of meningitis. And then I heard if you have meningitis, you can't touch your chin to your chest because your spine swells up.
Yeah.
Well, so for 2 weeks, I was walking around like that.
But to be fair, it's because it hurts so much. There's so much pain when it's called nuchal rigidity. It's rigid and painful when you move their neck. So... Hey, good times.
Yes.
You feel better now?
The last big thing I had, the last upper endoscopy I had, bile got into my lungs from the camera.
During the procedure?
So
you aspirated? Did you have to go in the hospital?
Yeah, 2 days, 2.5 days in the hospital. That's 1 out of 1,000 people.
Yes, I know.
One out of 1,000 people. And I was in the hospital. I woke up, and I've had so many upper endoscopies and colon. I get...
Yeah, me too.
I get checked. So I was 1 in 1,000 when it comes to that.
Well, I always knew you were special. So speaking of special, where should people look for you?
I don't go to richfoss.com, buy my merch. I guess I don't buy the Rich Foss Legend shirt.
Listen to the podcast.
Yeah, My Wife Hates Me podcast.
Yeah.
Wherever you get your podcast from. And go to richfoss.com. All my tour dates, I'm all over the place. Nonstop.
And you can find all the specials on Netflix or HBO or wherever.
Those are old. I mean, I got a new one coming out. I have another one. I taped at a 12-step convention.
Oh, how interesting.
The first one to do this ever.
Interesting.
My backdrop looks like a meat. It's really cool.
When is that?
Obviously, I don't show the audience.
Yeah.
What's that?
When's it coming out? And where?
I think, when did he tell me? It'll be on Amazon and all those other internet platforms, Pluto, Roku, all that stuff.
Can't wait.
But it's called Rich Foss Anonymous.
Fantastic.
It's pretty cool.
Rich, great to see you again.
Thank you for having me. This was a
pleasure.
lot of fun. And I am going to think about a lot of this stuff.
Put it out of your mind, everybody. Put it out of your mind. We'll see you next time. All conversations and information exchanged during participation in the Dr. Drew After Dark podcast or interaction on the drdrew.com website is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Do not confuse this with treatment or physician medical advice or direction per se. You must always follow your medical professional's advice and direction. Nothing on these podcasts or posted on this site supplements or supersedes the relationship and direction of your medical caretakers. Please understand, I am not playing the role of physician in this environment per se. I'm educating. I am a licensed physician with specialty boards in American Board of Internal Medicine and American Board of Addiction Medicine.